Hello. In this video, we're going to talk about legal forms, how to find good ones and how to avoid bad ones. I'm Richard Stim, an attorney and author, and I'm with Janet Portman, an attorney and author and an expert on landlord-tenant law. We both work as editors for Nolo, publisher of self-help legal books and software. First, let's define what we're talking about when we talk about legal forms. We're talking about prepackaged agreements that can be used for different purposes, where the consumer buys it, fills it out, and sits back and thinks, well, now I've got the law on my side. Except it's not always that easy, is it, Janet?
No, Rich, it isn't. There's a wide variety of legal forms for sale on the internet, and some of them are unreliable. It's actually quite shocking what's for sale out there.
You know, people probably wonder, how can a company get away with publishing unreliable information?
Well, one of the problems is that oftentimes you don't know that you've got a bad form for months or even years after you've used it. And by that time, you probably have forgotten where it came from.
Well, my guess is consumers want to save money. That's why I see those 10,000 forms on one disk. But saving money can actually be wasting money.
It can be wasting money and it can end up costing you a lot. Believe me, the quality of the form is going to be remembered long after the price is forgotten.
How bad can things get in a lease agreement?
The biggest problem is that landlord-tenant law is unique to every state, but the leases for sale on the internet are often not legal in the states that they're intended for. Let me give you an example of a clause from a California lease that is just plain illegal in California. This clause says that if the tenant doesn't provide a forwarding address, he'll forfeit his security deposit. But by law in California, if the tenant doesn't leave a forwarding address, the landlord must send it to the tenant's last known address, even if that's the place he just moved out of. This lease also says that the landlord can set a late fee, but it doesn't say any more on the subject. But that won't work in California anymore. Since 2004, any late fee clause must contain specific language describing the party's understanding of a late fee.
Well, is there anything else wrong with this lease?
Yes. California law allows landlords to terminate for non-payment of rent after 3 days' notice. This lease provides for 7 days' notice. I think that's a decision the landlord should make, not the company writing the form. And there's a problem with the attorney fees provision.
The provision says that if the landlord hires an attorney and has to go to court, the tenant must pay the fees. In California, if the tenant wins the lawsuit, the tenant would also be entitled to attorney's fees paid by the landlord. He could end up owing the tenant a bundle.
Rich, here's another form I got off the internet. It attempts to keep employees from competing against their former employers.
Right, a non-compete.
That's right, a non-compete agreement. What's your opinion on this one, having looked it over?
Well, in California, for example, non-competes are invalid unless tied to the sale of a business, so you can't even use this form here. In other states, there are many limitations on non-competes, and in those states, this form could be a disaster for both employers who rely on these agreements and for employees who may be misled. Okay, so we've seen some bad agreements. How does a consumer tell a good form from a bad one? Let's go over some of the things that they should be looking for.
I think the real key is instructions. If it's a fill-in-the-blank form without instructions, you're really lost. You might as well not spend the time and money.
So, check out who's producing the form. Check out the company's reputation, and if necessary, contact the company before buying to learn more about them.
Right. Talk to the company's customer service department. And if they don't have a customer service department, that's a red flag right there.
Great. Thanks for the explanation, Janet.
My pleasure, Rich.